1380 KCIM Sports presents KCIM Sports Rewind. A look back at the week in high school sports, brought to you by St. Anthony Rehab Services. Here's Sports Director Jeff Blankman, John Ryan, and Jeff Honnold.
Well, 1 out of the 3 in the Open is not bad. John Ryan gone today. Jeff Honnold has been busy out on the farm, and Casey Miners has been filling in for him, and it's going to be one of the new co-hosts of this, or tri-host, I guess. But Jeff Blankman and Casey Miners with you here on KCM Sports Rewind. And for all you Jeff Honnold fans out there, you haven't heard the last of Jeff Honnold here on Rewind. He will be joining us, in the future again at times as well, as he can slide it into his busy schedule. But speaking of busy schedules, Casey, it's getting busy. This is a big week. We've got volleyball regionals start next week. Those were released last week. Coming up tomorrow, we're supposed to find out where all of our cross-country teams are going to be going for their state qualifying meets next week. Of course, Friday night will be the final night of the regular season for 8 of our 9 football teams. So we'll know Friday night who's in the playoffs. We won't know till Saturday morning who they're playing. But it's hard to believe the fall sports season beginning to wind down. Carroll High will have another game coming up, but things beginning to wind down for some of our area teams. We're going to be in the postseason in a week.
I mean, it seems like it just started 2 weeks ago. We joked Friday on the scoreboard show that it seems like this fall sports season goes by faster than any other season we have for sports in the high school. In high school, it
does, and I don't know why that is, because like the summer sports season's only about 7 weeks long. The spring sports season's only about 6 to 7 to 8 weeks long, so it's actually shorter when it comes to length. The long one, of course, is the winter one, and part of that's because you get Thanksgiving break and Christmas break and New Year's Day and all that kind of thrown in there, but. Yeah, it's just amazing. I think the football coaches hit it on the bell when everything's so routine. And for us, it's like we know who we're interviewing every day of the week. We're in a routine, and then you get into the other seasons. It's not that we're in a routine. We are, but it's a different kind of a routine. And it does make the fall seem like it flies by.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we interview coaches, 4 out of the 5 work days of the week. So
yes.
I mean, typically we're either interviewing a coach or doing something else, and it makes the day go by, and it makes the season go by even faster, because before you know it, we'll be here on Friday night. Yeah,
I caught up with a couple of coaches already this morning. Got another one coming up here shortly after the show, and yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to believe. I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for the pod. I am, but I'm not. You always look forward to the postseason, but I guess for me, it's always when the fall postseason gets here, I know that the really cold weather is not too far into the future. I've called way too many postseason football games sitting out in the press box freezing, and stuff, and I don't always look forward to that. But what have you taken away before we kind of delve into, the potential for playoffs and all that stuff, and recapping last week in football, and then we're going to preview the playoffs that are coming up for volleyball next week. But what has stood out for you so far this football season?
We have a lot of really good teams. We have a lot of teams vying for a playoff spot. I think I talked to somebody over the weekend, and I said, we could pretty much, I think one team out of everybody that we cover has been fully eliminated from the playoffs, and we're 1 week away for everybody but Carroll away from the regular season, and Carroll's got 2 weeks left. So, I mean, this has probably been the longest that we've had teams, still vying for that playoff spot potentially. So it's been a really interesting football season. I know some teams maybe underperformed than what we thought, but I think it's been a very, very interesting football season, teams being better than what we thought they were. So,
yeah, it's been fun. I'd have to agree with you. I would say that it's been a few years. I've had it before where 8 of our 9 teams have made the playoffs and stuff, but it's been a while. It's been a stretch here for about the last 4 years or so where we get 3 to maybe 5, tops in, and I don't know what we'll end up with, after Friday night. But, right now I think all 9 are mathematically still possible. There's some need an awful lot of help. We've got 4 that, off the top of my head, Kemper, South Central, Calhoun, Audubon, and Glidden are already locked in. and the other 5 schools are hoping to still get in, and some need some help. Some, like Arweva, they just need to win, and if they win, they're in.
Yeah, what is up with me getting good games here? I get the Glidden Audubon game, and now I have Arweva for a chance to. They win, they're in. They lose, they go home. So
I'm going to have to take your schedule next year because you've gotten some really good football games this year.
I had the Carroll game last week, and it was exciting. I came back down from 13 twice in that game. So
So next year, what we'll do is when you decide what games you're doing, I'm just going to swap and I'll take those, and then you can have my schedule. How's that? No, I'm just kidding. I've had some really good football games this year as well, but and we've got some good football teams. You don't have all 9 mathematically left, and alive for the playoffs if you don't have good football teams here in the area. Let's take a look. We'll start off, the one that's really interesting to me right now is that Class A District 7, and then we're going to go into an 8-man district with Glidden and all those guys. There's such a logjam right now of teams in Class A District 7. ACGC, we know, is the champ. South Central Calhoun could finish still anywhere from second to third. I think they could drop down to third in the district if they would lose to Earlham. But for Earlham, a win and they're in. A loss, I just was talking to Coach McCarville this morning. If South Central Calhoun beats Earlham by 17 or more, Earlham could go from having a chance to play for second in the district to not getting into the playoffs.
Yeah, that's interesting because I know McCarville talked a little bit about it last on Friday night too. And if you're Earlham, if you lose, just don't lose by 17 plus.
Right,
Because then IK Manning gets in. But if you're IK Manning, you're hoping that SEC just comes and steamrolls them on Friday night, which could happen.
It very could.
This SEC team, I think, played inspired football after getting a little bit of a whooping at home against West Hancock. They came out and played really, really well against Panorama, and I expect them to do the same thing on Friday. This SEC football team, I remember we talked at the beginning of the year, is like this team could be a dome team if they can get everything together.
Yep.
And I don't think they've quite done that yet so far this year.
Yeah, no, I agree. And the West Hancock, not that they lost that game. I think what I came away with from that loss is that St. Ansgar and West Hancock, they're in the same district together. They may be head and shoulders above everybody else in Class A. They're at West Hancock because of a loss. And this is the thing I hate about rankings. You drop all the way down to like 6th or whatever after getting beat by the number 2 team when you were number 1. And you drop all the way down to 6. And they've worked their way back up to number 4 right now. But it's like if you watch them on the field or those 2 teams that are undefeated in front of them in districts that don't have St. Ansgar in it, are they as good as what West Hancock is? I question that.
I interviewed Case the Wednesday after that loss, and I said, and this was before we started, and I go, hey, you guys got your butts kicked. You throw that film out, you move on to next week. But if you look at besides their loss, you were their closest victory they had so far. Like teams were losing 60-0, 60-7, and so they were the closest loss that they had so far this season. So I guess that's something to hang your hats on. You were able to stick with them in some sort of way, but yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting. IK Manning sitting right now at 3-3, technically a half game ahead of Panorama. They defeated Panorama, but if Panorama can beat Riverside, then Panorama potentially slides into the postseason ahead of IK Manning and stuff. So as that 4th seed in the district, it'll all depend on how that Earlham South Central Calhoun game plays out. So we hope for the Wolves they get in and stuff. I think that's a district that you could get 5 in and you could be in pretty good shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know, you talked to McCarville. I know they probably have the win coming up on Friday, but I don't know, do they have to do anything else special? Do they have to be win by a certain amount?
No, because it's a non-district game.
Yeah, I figured.
So against Logan, who's going to be really good competition, they get Grant Bricks, who's I haven't heard if he's officially announced where he's going. Sounds like K-State maybe the lean and stuff.
One of the top prospects in the state of Iowa.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting. Wanted to take a peek as well as that 8-man district with Audubon and Glidden and Baxter and Kuhn and what a jam that is. We know who 1 and 2 are, and 3 teams out of that district get in. Audubon's the district champion. Glidden guaranteed to be the runner-up no matter how the St. Ed games go, but if you're Coon Rapids Bayard right now, you're kind of relying on Glidden Ralston a little bit to help you out because you need St. Ed to lose on Friday. That drops St. Ed's to 2-4. Coon needs to get a win. If they get their win on Friday night, then they help themselves out. And Colonesco, another one of those teams, tied it at 2-3. So, Coon needs Audubon to beat Baxter. They need St. Ed because otherwise, if Coon loses, they're out. If Coon wins, you could get a tie between Baxter, St. Edmund, if they would upset Glidden. And then and then Coon. You could have 3 teams at 3-3, all vying for one playoff spot.
Yeah, and I don't want to be the person that's got to decide what team gets in there because that's a logjam. Because St. Ed's made it interesting last week with beating Colo.
Yeah.
Because if Colo wins, they're probably the 3.
They're 3.
But then St. Ed's beats Colo, and now you don't know because Coon's got a head-to-head against St. Ed's, but they lost to Baxter, and now they got Colo coming up on Friday. So you could have a 3-way tie, like we do in Class A District 7.
Yeah, and again, it'll come down to the point differential thing. And folks, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't sit down and plug in the math. I talk to the coaches.
They tell us.
And they tell us and stuff. So I like math. I don't like it enough to do that. But, that's going to be interesting. I think Coon at home, I like the way they're playing. The only thing that worries me a little bit is that it seems like minus maybe that Cam Anita loss where Cam was just, better. The one thing I hear from Coach Moore a lot is self-inflicted. We beat ourselves, that we hurt ourselves and stuff, and that worries me. I think they're a better team probably than Colo. But will they hurt themselves on Friday night, or can can they go out and not do that and get the win?
Yeah, they just can't seem to get out of their own way on certain things. I've talked to multiple coaches on when they've had to face Coon coming up. I talked to Lynch a couple weeks ago, and he said when he was kind of talking about when they lost to Audubon, he goes Coon's still going to be a tough test for us. I mean they're a team that if the football bounces the right way, they're potentially only with one loss on the season and atop this district, because they played Audubon close. They played Baxter close. They had St. Ed. They beat St. Ed's big. They played Glidden last week. It was a little bit of a lopsided score, but maybe closer than what people think. I think Glidden really dominated that game with their run game.
Yep.
So, Coon's a team with the football bounce and they're their way. They got one loss on the season, and I think it's a lot better Coon team.
I agree. Audubon, we know how good they are. We mentioned that already. I think they're a team that could make a run to the Dome. It's going to depend a little bit on what direction they go. Not that they can't beat a Caminita. They were in that game until late in the third quarter and kind of some self-inflicted wounds in that season opener. And I know Audubon's better today than they were in that season opener. Remsen wouldn't maybe be a direction they would want to go, but I don't think they'd be intimidated to go play Remsen this year. Remsen St. Mary's. Glidden Ralston, another team I think that's got a chance to make a really good run. They're playing Craig Lynch style football right now. Arweva, they're an interesting one. You mentioned it. You get a go. They go to Boyer Valley. They win Friday night. They're in. They are in. They're locked in as the 3 seed. They lose. It'll come down to, they'd have to be one of the 2 at-large teams that get in an 8-man, and I don't know
how they do the at-larges.
Yeah, it's based off an RPI, and I don't know right now if their RPI would probably get them in. Not that they have a bad RPI, I just don't know. I've heard some rumors that Boyer Valley feels like their RPI is good enough that even with a loss, they could be one of the 2 at-larges. So Arweva may still be in that hunt as well and stuff. Esac County, they absolutely need to win. They can still get in. Pocahontas, I anticipate to beat Eagle Grove on Friday night. So if Esac would beat Sioux Central, then the Raiders get in, and they're at home on Friday night, and I think that defense gives them a chance to beat anybody.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, I was there with them week 1, and they I try to remember. It's week 1, three interceptions on the game and a couple fumbles. So that defense turns you over, and I don't think a lot of people expected the CSAC defense to be as good as it is coming into the year. Yeah,
last week they held Manson Northwest Webster to 8 points. They end up falling 8-0, but they're not giving up boatloads of points to anybody this year, and that's going to give you a chance to win every game. And then Kemper, we know they're locked in. I think that they're dome good. Whether they get there, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a team that we've said it many a times this year. I don't know if there's many teams in Class 2A that can match them athlete for athlete out on the edge and stuff. It's hard to defend a team when you can throw 5 guys out into pass patterns and get a mismatch somewhere out there, and Brock Bading's done a nice job of kind of reading where that mismatch is at and getting the right guy the ball and in a position to be able to make plays.
He has been lucky coming in for DJ with the type of guys he has to throw the football to, because most sophomores probably come in shaking a little bit, having to start after a kid that's committed to Iowa gets hurt, and you got to come in and start. Most kids would be like, oh, man, what do I do? But he trusted in himself. He trusts the kids that he has on the outside for him, and he's had a fantastic season so far. Yeah,
so, I'm still waiting to see. We'll find out Saturday morning who the first 4 teams in their pod will be. It'll be interesting if they get through those, how they repod them and stuff like that, because, the ones that would worry me are the teams, Northwest Iowa, you got Central Lyon, you got West Lyon. Western Christian would be an interesting one, Van Meter. Those are the teams that might be able to match up athletically with them, and that would be interesting. For the Carroll Tigers, got to win.
And they have a tough one.
And they do. Sioux Center comes in ranked number 4, and stuff tied with Williamsburg, so either 4 or 5, however you want to look at it, in that number 4 spot. But only 2 out of that district get a go, but there's 4 at large. So mathematically, Carroll's not out, but they lose this week, they're out for sure. There's no recovery from that. But even if they win out, they're going to need a little bit of help probably to be able to get in. So mathematically not out yet, but needing some help. So we got to step away real quick. We'll be back to announce our sack of the game winner. We'll do that when we come back with more KCIM Sports Rewind.
As the athletes at your house prepare for hard work and fun of the season, remember that St. Anthony Rehab Services provides physical therapy for any sports injury that may sideline your member of the team. Sports injuries can plague kids of all ages and keep them from playing the sport they love. Athletes will be under the direct supervision of a certified and licensed healthcare professional in the newly renovated sports performance facility. If an injury is keeping your athlete out of the game, call St. Anthony Rehabilitation Services at 794-5000 for sports injury and treatment rehab.
The house band again, Bad Authority and Born Into Wrong, leading us back here to KCIM Sports Rewind. Jeff Blankman, KC Miners with you again. We've got both John Ryan and Jeff Honnold out today and stuff. So KC, a month now coming in, 3 weeks? How many weeks has it been coming in here?
3 weeks, probably.
3 weeks?
I think.
You getting used to getting out of bed early on Tuesday?
No, I'll tell you, I haven't even been up for an hour. I rolled out of bed at 9:10, got some clothes on, and came in here. So it hasn't even been an hour yet since I've been up.
You're glad that I took the McCarville interview this morning, right?
I'm lucky I haven't had to do them since week 1. So.
Well, I tell you what, you got a chance to call the Carroll High football game on Friday night, as you mentioned. A nice win over Sergeant Bluff Luton. We didn't have a sack that we were aware of this weekend that was our sack of the game. So your top defensive play, you had one, and that's what we named as our sack of the game this week.
Peyton Wardell came off the edge. The Tigers have switched him to a defensive end position. He's not playing outside linebacker like what he used to, but he came off the edge and put a hit on the Sergeant Bluff Luton running back pretty early in the game. It kind of set the tone of how this Tiger defense is going to play, and they only gave up 1 defensive touchdown the rest of the game. Yeah, absolutely. So, again, that is our tackle. We'll call it the tackle of the game, but it's the sack of the game. Our sack of the game winner, Jean Whitrock of Halber. She wins a free sack of groceries to Market on 30. And you can do that as well. Just head on down to Market on 30, and all you got to do is sign up and register. And then we'll draw the name out and announce it every Tuesday morning here on KCIM Sports Rewind.
Good morning, all student-athlete parents. Don't let your hectic schedules keep you from feeding your family. The Market on 30 can help you with quick and easy options like Pasquale's Pizzas, our famous mac and cheese, chicken strips, and much more. The Market on 30 in the BP Plaza.
I guess I like these guys so much I just needed to hear A little born in the wrong again. How's that, Casey?
You play them every Friday.
I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
They're a part of the Brinks Exterior Preview Show, and yeah, I don't think they live around here anymore. That's the tough thing. We always wanted to get them in here and be a part of Rewind and just have them do some like an acoustic, set in here while we were on Rewind. I thought that would always be fun, but we'll have to get them back into the area someday and figure out how we get them in here. I grew up in the day of those hair bands, doing the old MTV Unplugged thing, and stuff, and that'd be kind of cool to just get the guys in here and let them pick and sing a little bit.
They probably would too.
I'm sure they probably would. Yeah. So, but volleyball playoffs, we announced last I think it was last Wednesday. They actually came out with the playoffs. I was shocked because usually they wait till Thursday night at like 7 o'clock.
I know. I'd call you and say, "Hey, I found them."
Yeah. Because we were told Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we kept looking and they weren't on the website. They were on Twitter. Yeah, and they were on Varsity Bound. So, but then they ended up on the website. Anything surprise you with the poolings in the regions?
No, but I like that we have a lot of teams in one region, Class 1A. I think it's going to be very interesting because we could get a lot of local teams playing each other as you go through the matchups in that region. So I think that's will be interesting. And then also Class 2A, we have 3 teams in one region again as well. So and I think that one sets up pretty good because we could potentially have 2 local teams vying for a chance to go to state in that region.
Absolutely, and that's the one thing that's good about having, a lot of teams in a region. 2 things are good about it. One, if you get to the regional final, you're guaranteed that one of them will make state. 2, we can get more covered on the radio because, when we can only do 3 matches, on a night with 3 radio stations. And, if we've got a bunch of teams playing each other, then we can get maybe up to 6 teams covered, in one evening, which is nice. The bad part of that is that, you're always guaranteed to lose somebody out of the playoffs. And then if they match up again in the next round, the winners, again, you're guaranteed somebody advances, but you're also guaranteed that somebody falls. And that's the sad thing. You hate to see seasons come to an end.
You do.
For any of the teams. Let's start with our largest school, and that is the Carroll Tigers. They get to host Denison Schleswig in the opening round. Very winnable game. They've beaten them once earlier this year. Then things get, I'm not going to say a little tougher, we're going to say a lot tougher. They would head on the road next Thursday. They'll play Tuesday at home against Denison Schleswig. And folks, we have all the Carroll and all of the Kemper games covered.
Yep, and this is next week.
Yes,
just
not
so you
tonight.
don't think they play Denison tonight. We'll have them against ADM tonight.
Yes, but they would play at number 2 Indianola. Not saying they can't win that game, but that's a tough game.
Yeah, it is.
That's a tough game. The other part of that bracket, Glenwood getting the bye. Winterset will take on Creston. We know the Tigers already beat Winterset this year, so if they could find a way to get Winterset to get hot at the right time and sneak through, that would be pretty cool. Let's move into that district now in Class 2A Region 2. Kemper, South Central Calhoun, and East Sac all in that region. Kemper gets a bye in the opening round. Technically, they all 3 do. But Kemper awaits the winner of Maple Valley, Anthony Charter Oak Ute, and Lawton Bronson in their first round game, and they'll play Wednesday of next week, the 18th. I think Kemper's got a really good chance to come through this one. Not that South Central or East Sac or Ridgeview potentially are going to be easy matches. They're going to have to show up and play well. But with the way they've played this year, I think they've got a good chance to get through this region.
I mean, you just mentioned the 3 teams that we probably potentially could either play. Well, South Central Calhoun's got to beat Kemper to get to regional final, but I mean, Kemper's beaten all 3 of them, I believe, already in this season, and I don't know if they were particularly close. I mean, Kemper's really good, and I think a lot better than what people see. I think people see the rankings and they see the record, and Kemper doesn't have a bad record, 5 losses on the season, I believe, if I'm correct. But I think they see the ranking, and they're like, oh, maybe this isn't as good as a Kemper team as we thought. But they could make a deep run, and they can make some noise at state, I think.
I think people that don't pay a lot of attention probably saw they went 1-2 over at Nevada in that early season triangle or quad that they were at, and kind of maybe forgot about him a little bit, and they've kind of quietly
the best team in the state out there.
Yeah, quietly they've put together one heck of a year. South Central's played really, really well. I like what Emma's done up there, and they've got some really good talent on that team, and I think they've got a chance to make a run at. East Sac wins the Twin Lakes Conference. They go undefeated. In the league, they haven't lost much this year either, and They're going to have that tough second round matchup. With the Ridgeview, they've split with them this year. Lonnie Miller, one of the assistants up at Kemper, said it really well Saturday. I was up at the JV tournament up at Kemper watching them and Carroll and Audubon play, and he's like, it's the Master Blaster tournament from South Central Calhoun over again, because those four teams, Kemper, South Central Calhoun, ESAC, and Ridgeview, were all there. They all played each other that day, and now they're all potentially going to see each other again, because I'd be shocked if it's not those four in the regional semifinals.
It sets up for really good volleyball. I think that. Excuse me.
You're a little not woke up yet, huh?
Man, I lost my train of thought. Now I think that when you have a team like South Central Calhoun, Kemper, and ESAC, when you're winning a lot, it sets a mindset up. It sets a mindset for the kids. It's like, hey, we can come out and win any match we can. And SEC struggled at the beginning of the year because I think they had struggled to adjust to the way Emma wanted to play volleyball.
Right.
And now watching them, I know they lost 3-1 when I had them last time against ESAC, but I think ESAC is really good. I think they're a lot better than what they are to start the season, despite having, I think, 10, 11 losses on the season. But they also have 24, 25 wins as well.
Yeah, so the four teams really with Ridgeview. Ridgeview's ranked number 9 with Kemper number 7, so that will certainly not be, if those two would meet up, would not be an easy matchup. Peyton Sheridan, Class 1A, Region 5. They take on Colonesco on the road. They played them earlier this year at home. 3 pretty close sets, but dropped all 3 of those and stuff. And then if they would win, they would go to BCLUW. And then in Class 1A, Region number 1, this is that region where pretty much all of our teams are playing each other to open up. Arweva's got a tough one. They go to number 15, River Valley, in the opening round on Monday. We've got Coon Rapids Bayard at Audubon, which is a really nice local matchup, in Glidden Ralston at IKM Manning. I know a lot of people kind of looking at as Audubon and probably Glidden the chances to really make a run for our local teams out of that region.
Yeah, and they could even meet. I think if the bracket plays out right, they can meet up for a chance to get to that regional final.
Yes.
So, and Audubon they faced earlier, and I know that Audubon wants to play them again because I think that Audubon feels like that's one they dropped.
Yes.
And Audubon, it's going to depend on what team comes out. I think Audubon has played really well against good competition, but sometimes maybe have stepped back a little bit when they played teams that are probably not as good as them. So if Audubon can come out and play really, really well, that should set up, if it falls that way, it should set up for a really nice matchup.
Yeah, the tough thing for Audubon is that, and I'm not saying they can't win the River Valley matchup, but they're that team that plays in that really strong WIC, and I think sometimes their overall record, because of that, they're playing larger schools all regular season long in their conference, affects where they get located in the region, and to have to go on the road to play the number 15 team in the state, to be able to get to that Glidden match will not be easy, but it's a winnable match for them. But first, they've got to get by a Coon Rapids Bayard team that's been playing better. I know I talked to Natalie Lewis the other day, and she feels like they're playing better, and we can't count out IKM Manning. They almost beat Loma for a second time in a row last night in the conference tournament. That's a team that's gotten better this year under Michaela Cron as well.
And I think if you're IKM Manning, it's tough to beat a team when you just saw when they can easily go back and adjust to what they did wrong, because all three games were close last night. Well, all 3 games were really close, and Loma the other night too.
Yep.
So then that's a match that can go either way when IKM Manning and Loma play. It was a really fun match to call, but I know that when you have very little time to adjust again, and that team is also fresh in their mind on a loss, and they have time to adjust, it makes it harder to beat a team twice in a row when you have to play them that close again.
Absolutely, and do want to announce this here real quick. Saturday, November the 4th, is when we're planning on scheduling our All Rewind festivities for volleyball and football. We'll announce the kids that are going to be invited coming up here soon, here in the next couple of weeks, and stuff, and everything will be out at Carroll High School. Again, we'll get the events getting underway at 1 o'clock. We're going to tweak things a little bit. Volleyball girls, get your throwing arm, get that throwing arm in good shape. So we'll let everybody know the fun things that we're going to be able to have the kids do. So, and we'll hopefully get a big crowd of people coming out to support our local athletes.
It's always a great event.
Yeah, we'll have more information on that coming up, but just wanted to get that word out. Saturday, November the 4th, right now is the planned date for that KCIM Sports Rewind All-Star festivities. That's going to wrap things up, by the way. Belated happy birthday. By the way, what'd you turn on Sunday?
25.
25. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Do you feel old?
No.
Okay, good. Good, because you're not. That's going to wrap up KCIM Sports Rewind for this Tuesday.